Our next story takes us to the English department, where young Aboriginal writers are exploding onto the scene. Michelle Jones met one young writer who's riding the native literary wave.
A Saskatchewan Sunset. That's Nickita Longman's latest inspiration. Nickita's a writer and an English major at the First Nations University of Canada.
Currently, I feel my poetry is most relatable to young women, and I've recently started to incorporate a bit of First Nations content into it too, so specifically maybe First Nations young women like myself.
This winter, Nickita traveled to Halifax for the Canada Winter Games. While Canadian athletes pushed the limits of sport, she pushed the limits of poetry.
I was the only poet, but the other artists selected were performance artists. There are a lot of. We basically collaborated together, put our heads together, and came up with a gala at the end of the games, the Winter Games.
Jesse Archibald Barber teaches English here. He says his students can influence change by sharing their culture with others.
First Nations writers, because First Nations literature is coming through a great explosion almost. And you could say Indigenous literature is rising as well.
Nickita says she's excited by the power of the pen. She says literature has taught her about real-life issues such as discrimination that First Nations women face. But Nickita is focused on helping readers get a glimpse of home.
I've been trying to incorporate small town Saskatchewan. I like the homey feel that it has to my poetry. Some of my favorite authors, such as Lorna Crozier and Patrick Lane, are both from small town Saskatchewan, and they're quite well known, and they've been a huge inspiration on my writing, and I'm recently starting to incorporate the same feel that I get from their poems.
Nickita Longman hopes more women will discover the power of writing. For Real Warriors, I'm Michelle Jones in Regina.